already there. Our awareness is not aware. So it's less about getting somewhere and it's more about surrendering to the reality of that it's there. It's absolutely allowing our frequency to harmonize with the new earth, the ascended Gaia that already exists, so that we are there.
Guy here. I'll keep this quick. JJ Brighton is my beautiful guest today, and she is a psychic medium and a multi-dimensional energy healer, and she's also a beautiful soul. And if you're like me, wondering what the hell's going on in the planet, what is all this awakening talk that we seem to be having on these podcasts and everything, I hit JJ from every angle to discuss these topics today, along with her own journey as well. I'll be interested to see what you think about the conversation. Definitely stick around with it because it's a good one, as always. If you want to find out more of what I'm up to in 2025, links are below in the show notes, and of course the free meditation. We are going to be in New Zealand if you're watching this before February 2025. How exciting! Bali, Croatia, you name it, and of course up and down the coast in Australia with our one dayers as well. Much love from me. Enjoy this conversation with JJ. See you soon. Fabulous. We are recording. JJ, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. So thrilled to be here.
I'm excited too. And I got to ask you as well, I was reading, I believe this morning or yesterday, is it true you have 8 children?
Yes, it is true that I have 8 children. And I used to be a little bit shy to say this, but after I say I have 8 children, everybody always asks, did you birth all of them? And I will proudly say, yes, this body did that. And I honor her for having done it.
I have so much respect for you. We literally just had our second. My son, he's now 11 months. He was actually born on my birthday of all things, which was a gift as well. Yeah. But even just having number 2 is really, it's a real interesting dynamic. And when I read that, I was like, oh my God, this woman definitely would walk a talk with 8 children. Doing what you do is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Yeah. How do you do it?
That's the magic question, isn't it? That's the $1 million question. I take every day one day at a time, just like I take every child one at a time when I decided to have one, except one time it turned into 2 at a time because I ended up having twins. But yeah, I take every day one day at a time. I try to be as intentional as I can. And before my quote unquote awakening, although I feel like I've been spiritual my whole life, I definitely, I think many women and many mothers dissociated, and many starseeds, honestly, dissociated a lot. And I wasn't very present in my body and in the moment. And so now having actually children that are grown and out of the house, as well as little ones, I really honor the time that I have with them, and it's taught me something. It's given me some wisdom that I don't think I really had at the beginning. And that's how I do it, is I really have a little bit of that perspective that I apply to every day, and I just make every day as beautiful as it can be.
How beautiful, truly. I'm blown away. I think it's fantastic. And on that then, I'm tempted to dive into your awakening and everything. But before I do that, because I was looking at your website and the range of topics you're covering, it blows my mind. And even when you flicked me an email this morning, you said, there's a few rabbit holes you could dive down to here if you want to. And I was like, they are definitely rabbit holes. But let's say because I know you were just in Australia recently. So if you sat next to a stranger on the airplane and they asked you what you did for a living, how would you respond?
Oh, that's a great question, because I do occasionally get that. You know how it is on airplanes nowadays. You have to kind of work to try to talk to somebody because everybody just put their headphones on and then they just look at their phone the whole time. But I appreciate it when I can connect with someone, and I know there's a reason when I do. But the easiest way for me to explain what I do to the general public, I think, is to call myself like a psychic medium. Sometimes I add in the word multidimensional, but that's one of those words that people are like, what does that mean? So a psychic medium, for me, it's just basically being able to access the non-physical with my clairsentience and my claircognizance and my all the clairs. And in addition to that, I kind of usually add in something around doing energy healing and sound healing, because that is a part, and that was sort of my origin point, was sort of that area.
Right. And have you always been then psychic? Or is this something you've developed, or what happened? 'Cause I know you spoke about quote unquote an awakening. How was life before that, and what led to that?
Right. I've absolutely always been very connected to spirit. Now, within the framework that I was raised in, which I know many people have a background in religion, and so mine happened to be very conservative Christianity, I still had some foundational things that were taught to me from a very young age, one of them being that I could pretty much talk to spirit and communicate with non-physical, essence. And in addition to that, there was life after death. So when my father died when I was age 12, I knew that he existed somewhere else on a different plane, and I could communicate with him too. Not that everybody went around saying, oh, I'm having a conversation, but I knew that I could. I was empowered. And so that's a beautiful thing about my background that sort of was, again, a foundational, because when people find out that I've only been on my sort of spiritual awakening in this realm for about 4 years or so, maybe 6 if I want to fudge a little, it's surprising where I've gone with it. But it is because I had that foundational piece where I was taught that there was nobody between me and spirit, or me and God, that I could have personal contact with the higher power. And so I actually am very grateful for that upbringing. And so what happened was, as many people I'm sure who are listening understand, the crumbling of the dogma and the religious piece came right around age 40, which is very relatable for many people. That's a big turning point, as I've found in all my work with clients. And it's same for me. Right around age 40, the entire world as I knew it crumbled. And everything that I thought was a truth, I was so adamant was a truth, was no longer a truth. And I have to say, I became kind of agnostic a little bit. And I just decided I didn't have to be attached to a dogma anymore, which felt actually very liberating, very freeing for me. And that lasted about a year. I could say I didn't tune into anything. I could honestly say I wasn't worried about hearing a voice or tuning into anything beyond myself. But because my mission on this planet is involving that, very slowly started creeping back in some of these spiritual pieces. Basically, my psychic senses started turning back on. And I first started connecting more with angelic beings, and then my eyes were opened to the multidimensional different planes of existence of ascended masters and star beings and the like. And that's how I got here.
Wow, okay. You've opened many questions already, which thank you for sharing. Through that kind of version 2.0 or 40, because it's funny, I was trying to think back with myself, and I was around 39, 40 as well. There you go. When the shifts really started or my world started to crumble anyway, or felt like. So was it the fact that, was it through pressure of circumstance that kind of metamorphosed, or was it more, I'm ready to lean into this, and you were developing your skill set, or did it just happen?
I would say it wasn't really pressure. I've always had a call to teach in a spiritual vein, and I've always felt that was my quote unquote soul purpose, and I hadn't quite arrived at that. And I had, as a sort of psychic person, in a spiritual person, through my life, I had glimpses of what I knew I came here to do. But I'm sure, like many people that are listening, it's like it's fuzzy. You're like, you feel that there's something more that you're meant to do, and you kind of push it away. It's like, and I just did, corporate jobs and was a mom and all the things. But I just knew as I was getting in the 40 right there, that it was time. I could just feel like this timer go off. And it really wasn't for pressure. I'll tell you what, it was for sanity, because right around COVID was when I just started exploring some topics, and I had to talk about them with somebody. I was super isolated. There was no one in my immediate community that I could even relate to. So that's where the internet was so helpful, and podcasts. So I ended up having a connection with somebody in a Facebook group, actually. And she and I, like, we just get on these calls and we'd start exploring these topics. And at some point, I just decided I want to start a podcast. Like, I've always loved speaking. And I've always felt like that was a place for me, was to teach and to speak. And so I honestly just recorded on my phone. There's a little podcasting sort of app, and I just recorded on my phone. And again, for my sanity, I was able to articulate about all of these things I was learning and feeling. And then I kind of started channeling. And I'm not kidding, there were probably like 3 people listening to me, at the very beginning. And little by little, just started sharing my heart and just sharing what was coming up for me. And people started relating to it. And again, that's how I got here.
Yeah, okay. No, beautiful. Thank you. And okay, so with all the array of things that you teach at the moment, which is like, and I can see it through your YouTube channel and everything, like you really dive into these topics. Do you mainly teach other people how to do it, or are people coming to you for support because they're stuck? Like, what is your main passions right now? And then I want to dive into the very things that you do speak of.
Sure. It's been interesting as I've evolved, because I keep thinking I need to niche down a little better, but I feel like there's something about the fact that I have 8 children and my business is very reflective of my multidimensionality as well, and my ADD, and the fact that I love exploring all kinds of topics. And to answer your question, I do all of that. I honestly do. I think I would get bored if I tried to limit it to something specific. So I absolutely sort of am a sounding board and a support for people who are in limbo. I find a lot of times people are needing that like shift into like that little being propelled, or a springboard into a new frequency or timeline. And sometimes I talk about the fact that sometimes I feel like the containers I create are an elevator. Mm-hmm. And it's called activations for a reason, I think, because it is that like catalyst sometimes. And sometimes it's a very quick moment that I have with someone. And a lot of that is, of course, supported with the light language piece. It's a very, very rapid way to transform energies and frequencies. But in addition to that, I did end up about 4 years ago, it started dropping in, sort of channeling through a modality that I think has existed on the planet, has been in all the mystery schools. It's just my flavor. But a modality that has come forward that I teach other people how to do. So that's kind of the range, a pretty big range.
Okay. And with that teaching, like you say, that's in other modalities of mystery schools and how to do it. Are we then speaking of the ascension process to actually, what is it?
Yeah.
Because it always feels like, I find it fascinating because I'm in front of a lot of people at the moment, every month. And this was me included. And I see myself in everyone that's there. And it always felt, the only way I could describe it is that I was trying to pull a splinter out of my soul. There was something I couldn't, I couldn't articulate it. I didn't know what it was, but it was just in there. And over time, it's as I've getting to know myself, my body, and the, I guess, energy, develop that relationship. It then becomes something tangible for my male analytical brain to hang on to. And then evolve that. But I actually explaining it to someone else has always been a challenge in some ways. Like, what do you feel is the name of the game, for us while we're here and what we're doing?
Well, you have kids. You can understand this.
Big time.
I think the name of the game is to always lead with our inner child. And not take things too seriously, because I've tried it the other way, and I'm starting to realize in my old age, that the first and foremost, what I would tell anybody is that I've seen a lot of people who are seriously diving into all this, but that gets tiring and you can get fatigued. So it's, I guess, more than the inner child, it's like balance is the name of the game, because we're here to be human. So when people come to me and they say, I want to know my soul purpose, it's actually kind of simple. It's like, you're here to be human. You came into this incarnation because you wanted to experience having a human body. And yes, there's probably a frequency that you're bringing to Gaia. You came onto this planet to embody a frequency that also serves Gaia. But in the end, if you hyper focus on one, then you're going to find it just feels a little off. And so as we really lean into all of the aspects of our ascension journey, both like this non-physical, metaphysical, but like just being kind to our neighbors, right? And just being a regular human, like smiling at somebody at the market, whatever it is, it's like that's where we're really going to find the happiness. So I think we overcomplicate it as far as the ascension journey goes, and we can get we can get down rabbit holes, which is fun for me. The only reason I do that is not because if I don't do that, I won't ascend. Some guy living in a forest in a cabin could potentially ascend faster than me and not explore any of those topics. The only reason that it's helpful for me is because my inner child wants to do all that. Yeah. It's fun for me.
And honestly, I think it's fabulous. Like, I invited you on because I saw that and I was like, wow, I am really curious to have these discussions, which I want to get into. And for some of the questions might seem so basic to some of the things you're about to talk about, so forgive me. But let's talk about light language. That's come up once or twice.
Yeah.
And activation. How do you see them in our own personal evolution? Because that could obviously mean a lot of things to a lot of people.
It could. And honestly, conveying light, transmitting light is not just like through speaking, but I will address predominantly spoken light language because that's what most people relate it with. There's other kinds of light language, like you can use your hands, people see. You can write light codes. It's all conveying just different frequencies. For me, and the way that I tuned into it lately, because it's hard sometimes when you download these really high-level concepts and you're receiving information to try to put it into English, to try to put it in a way that other people can understand. But what I tuned into, and I have several galactic beings and galactic teams that are assisting me. They're all very, very much invested in the planet and our ascension process. And I just heard the word technology. They wanted us to know that it was technology. And it was interesting. The other day, I actually looked up the word technology, and it is not what we think it is. The origin of the word technology has to do with art and expression. And I thought that was so fascinating because we have so much programming around that word technology. They're like, light language, spoken, is a technology that allows you to take quantum leaps and shift in a less, I guess you could say, a less complex way. It's very simple because it's bypassing all of those conscious programs that we hold as humanity. You're not needing to understand it per se, like with your logical mind, and you're able to feel it. So, and you just kind of let yourself feel it like you would if you put on a song. You're not overanalyzing the song. You're just like, whoa, my body's feeling awesome listening to the song. So in a nutshell, that's how I explain light language.
Wow. Going off on a side tangent for a sec, because you spoke about galactic beings that come in. Have you always been able to communicate with them? And how does it feel when you when you have that aspect? Because until I felt something, other presences coming into my energy field, especially when I'm holding space, I was just in my mind before. But once those experiences started happening to me, I'm like, wow, I know nothing. Like, there is so much beyond what I have no idea what's possible. So it's kept me open to continuing to lean in as opposed to shutting these things down, if that makes sense. So I'm curious from your perspective.
Absolutely. It's a big topic. So being raised in Christianity, I connected with angels. In my opinion, and other people have said this too, the galactic beings, these star beings from planes of existence that are filled with light and higher consciousness, they feel like angels too. There is a specific angelic realm, but I think sometimes we put them all in one bucket until our framework and our verbiage and our knowledge about something expands. Then they're able to say, okay, well, you thought this, but now that you know a little bit more, it's actually this and that. So it wasn't until what I called my, quote unquote awakening just after age 40 that I was able to really understand that there were these beings, one of the first sets of beings I worked with was the Arcturians. And I believe that I have Arcturian lineage. Some of my cosmic origins are Arcturian. In fact, because I believe that there are multiple parallel planes of existence and realities and timelines that I exist on as a multidimensional being, I have it, for all intents and purposes, an Arcturian self, parallel to me, right? This is where it starts going like, oh, wow. And this Arcturian energy came in, and it took me time to calibrate to them. The light language, the spoken light language that I was able to do actually was one of the fastest ways for me to be able to access all these star beings that I now channel, because I understand the dialects and I connect with the languages. And the language, when I speak it, calibrates my antenna to be able to connect more easily with them. When I didn't use light language, I almost felt like I was channeling peanut butter energy, because it was so hard to get through. And when I started calibrating myself with this, now there are other channelers. There's Daniel Scranton, who channels the Arcturians. He always does that little routine right before. There are other ones. It's to calibrate. And that's made it a lot easier. So the Arcturians are one of many that I enjoy connecting with.
Wow. So through your own evolution, or through a human's evolution, do we all have that ability? And is that what's happening almost on the planet, that there's a shift in frequency and there's a calibration at a DNA level, or an adaptation to allow us to receive different frequencies? Because I know for a fact, I actually had a DNA specialist on, very scientific mind, but very interested, and I was quizzing him about this, and he was definitely in agreement that there's an unmeasurable, untangible, unmeasurable aspect of ourselves that is evolving as well at a DNA level. What is your... I do believe that. How do you envisage it or see it, or from your own journey?
Wow. That is a big one, but I'm going to tie it into what I mentioned earlier about the modality that I was telling you that I teach and I want people. So this is called multidimensional soul integration, where you're actually, there's many, many ways and many analogies I can use to try to describe it, in a more of a basic term, because it's, again, these very, very expansive topics. The key is, as a teacher, is learning how to translate them so they're more digestible according to our framework, right? We're bridges. Most starseeds are bridges. Our frequencies are bridges. And when we come in with information, we're bridging, you could say, from like the 3D to the 5D, or however you want to put it. But this multidimensional soul integration is essentially integrating parts of you, or activating parts of you that are dormant, or that are disconnected according to your conscious mind, that you're separate from, which is always an illusion, because that goes right back to source. We're actually all connected. It's an illusion of separation. So it's dissolving the illusion of separation from our multidimensional parts, it's reactivating or reintegrating them. And it's all connected to the many beautiful souls who were pioneers in the areas of past life regression. Because what came through for me was that all these people who were pioneering the past life regression, for instance, Dolores Cannon is one of the biggest names, they were laying the foundation for the next phase, which was to integrate all of the gifts and the abilities and the awareness and the wisdom of these lives as galactic beings, as ancestors, all of these incredible souls. And we've chosen to incarnate in multiple lifetimes. So this is the lifetime, if we choose, to create a sense of convergence, to be able to fully weave together all that wisdom. And one of the reasons is that we have agreed to a planetary ascension process. This is not an individual ascension process, which has happened and is done all the time. This is a monumental effort for a whole collective to ascend at once in coordinated efforts. And in order to do that, we are bringing in every single tool, every resource we have, every piece of wisdom from every lifetime. And multidimensional soul integration allows us to call in our Arcturian self unawareness, our Andromedan awareness, our Lemurian, Atlantean, any all of those. So it's really fun. That's why the inner child loves it too, because it's exploring all those parts of us.
It's pretty wild when you just listening to you even. And with that ascension process then that's happening collectively, is this something that we're going to see out in our lifetime? Do you feel like 20, 30, 40 years from now, where's it going to go?
Yeah.
I know it's not a prediction, but I'm just curious, like your thoughts.
It's sort of a trick question, but you're not meaning for it to be a trick question. And the only reason why it's a trick question is because I agree with other channelers and other people who have said the same, that we're already there. Our awareness is not aware that we're already there. So it's less about getting somewhere, and it's more about surrendering to the reality of that it's there. And I mean, if you want to look at it in like a quantum physics way, it's absolutely allowing our frequency to harmonize with the new earth, the ascended Gaia that already exists, so that we're there. It feels like we're there and our awareness is there. But this is where it gets, as you can tell, I even have a hard time explaining it, but that's my belief. Linear time, it's hard to put the ascension process and concept. It's harder and harder for me as I've evolved in my awareness, because I've released duality to a certain degree. It's harder for me to attach a time or a date to it, because I know even in saying that right now, I'm planting a seed for someone to think. And the more people that I say we're already there, the more people can overcome the idea that it's almost here. Because for how many years has Christianity said, Christ is coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming? It's time for us to just say we're already there and just be.
I love it. I truly love that answer. Thank you. It makes complete sense.
You're welcome.
So for all our listeners then, myself included, how would you then invite people to become aware of what already is, if we're already there?
I'm going to go back to balance, because you can only be fully present. I feel like presence and balance are hand in hand. I don't know if you've felt that in your life, but when your life is not balanced, it's very difficult to be present. And so presence and balance are like the fertile ground to shift that frequency and awareness, because within presence and balance, this is something I haven't mentioned yet, but it's a very big passion of mine, is literally that place of I am and sovereignty. And honestly, that's the foundation of unity consciousness, which is quote unquote the new earth, right? The vibration of the new earth is unity consciousness, where we've released the illusion of separation and we're able to see we are one with the planet, we are one with each other. And that reconnection to all living things, very similar to, for instance, the time of Lemuria, one is very much in that frequency. But for me, that's kind of in a nutshell what I think some of the key principles are with the presence, the balance, the sovereignty. And that's kind of the key.
Yeah, giving ourselves permission. Fair enough. So I got a question for you that I'd like I got all these dot points here, and there's a few things
Yes.
to jump in on. But one was I think even the fact that you were in Byron Bay recently sparked my interest about planetary grid work, and traveling around at various locations. Can you explain a little bit about that, please?
Sure. I think the best framework for that is to think about somebody who understands energy healing or like Reiki, where you're working with the meridians of someone's body, you're working with the chakras. Very simple. You know, we understand that there is layers of the subtle body, the energy body, that people use frequencies and sound and hands-on healing to shift to shift or to support the body or to help with release or realignment, etc., etc. It's the same thing, as above, so below. It's the same thing, but on a macro scale for the planet. And when we reconnect to Gaia and understand there's no separation between us and Gaia, it gives us that real sense of like, oh, we're a team. And what can I do as a team member here? Just like your cells are on the team of supporting your body, you're on Gaia supporting her body. And you use intuition, right? There's a lot of education you can get about it. My intuition will lead me places. And I actually use a lot of spoken light language because it shifts frequency. But you could use music, drumming. All of the indigenous peoples, the First Nations peoples have, they're doing it all the time, the grid work. You can simply flow compassion and love to a plant, a tree. When I was in Byron Bay, I was connecting in a specific area and tuned into a vortex. We happened to go out in the country and there was a vortex energy there that I was sensing. So part of doing grid work is opening yourself to the non-physical, to what you can't see with your eyes. And there are certain areas on the planet, this is a whole rabbit hole, right? So I know I'm not going to go that deep into it, but there are certain areas on the planet that are connected to galactic frequencies and stargates, which are openings to higher frequencies that are downloading into the planet so we can sort of reprogram the grids and ascend and shift our frequency. And sort of in the most basic terms, you are helping to anchor these in through frequency, through sound, and honestly, collective intention. So I like to do it in groups where we come together. And I don't know if you've heard of Lynn McTaggart's Power of Eight, the book. Yeah. But it's like that same idea, right? It's like you're gathered, everybody hold an intention. We are going to hold this intention to send love here, to flow this here, to support this and that of Gaia. And you can be there physically, you can do it astrally, but that's one of my passions. Wow. I absolutely love doing planetary grid work.
Thank you for clearing up. Yeah, we actually use that model, or it's kind of morphed over 6 years now, but with group healings at the retreat. And what's fascinating with people for 5 days, so by about day 4, so much is cleared. And people are really back within themselves. And then we lean into those exercises. And the amount of reports from people that have never experienced before about angelic beings coming in, people that have crossed over to the other side coming in, galactic beings coming in. And there's like this rabbit in the headlights look like. I just had this very tangible, real experience. And what blows my mind is that as we lean into those exercises is that when we're intentionally coming from the heart, the support that wants to support us and you in those moments, it's life-changing. It's unbelievable. So I can now totally relate to what you say. And so to rewind that, would you say then that the grid, the planet, not only it has its own soul, but it's like its own chakra system, its own meridian points, and the collective trauma, whatever it might be, could be affecting the energy of the planet. And that
100%.
And then by what we are doing intentionally, being within those particular areas, we're then able to shift that frequency, which is going to support the collective consciousness in total.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And the magical thing is the law of correspondence. And I've said it a couple of times, but as above, so below. So there's many ways that we can do grid work, and just doing this work on our own personal lives and bodies is actually affecting Gaia's frequency as well. So it's very beautiful. Not only is what we're doing personally affecting Gaia, but when we do grid work with the intention of supporting Gaia, it's also reflecting back to collective, like individuals.
How incredible. Yeah. It definitely helps us take our power back, doesn't it? Not feeling helpless, that we can so contribute at this present time. Okay. Another question for you that I got to be honest, I had to Google this when I saw it this morning, but it was the golden seraphim. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
And it really caught my eye. And then when I looked, I was like, oh, wow. Can you talk to me a little bit about that, please?
Sure. I've actually been feeling a real influx of angelic energies on the planet. And when you talk about like angelic and galactic, it's without names, you're really talking about different frequencies. Mm-hmm. For me, the angelic beings are the closest to our original templates, straight from source. So coming from source right into that angelic frequency is the soul journey, I believe, for everybody. We all have a connection to the angelic realms. Now, for some of us, it wasn't very long ago in linear time that we were there. For others, we've gone through multiple other stuff, and so we're not feeling quite, like that's where we were. But we were. The seraphim energy is described for instance, in the Bible. You can read about it, and I'm sure that's when you Googled, they're covered with eyes, and there's wings everywhere. They can be seen as an angelic being. They are a little bit hard to sort of define, and that's probably why the people who, to try to describe them in the Bibles, that they did that way. But as the golden seraphim energy comes forward, I just feel like it's a new frequency here to level us up. And it's, in the end, for me, the intention is to reconnect us with what I call our original divine blueprint, which is that ascension process where we choose to drop our frequency to experience duality. Mm-hmm. And then when we're done with that, we're like, we got it. We learned all that we want to learn. Then you get to go back and you're making your way back through that ascension process. And one of the steps in that is this golden seraphim energy. I'll be honest, sometimes when themes come in for me, I feel like I throw it out to the public and I'm like, hey guys, what do you think? So I'm excited for us to be talking about it today because I would love to hear from the listeners, in the comments or however they can co-create with us, what they're feeling. For me, it's a little bit harder to describe with words, but I'm wondering if you'd be open for me to just share a little light language.
Please.
To share that frequency?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So just tuning into this beautiful frequency, and you can, if you want to close your eyes, you can imagine golden wings is a lot of times what I see. Kia ni ato ki sho kiara kanai ti. Ai kiara kanai ti shoko inakari. O sui inakari, koto inakari. Sui inakari, koya nakari. And what I'm hearing as I speak that, because sometimes when I use light language, I actually hear the translation in my mind. They're letting us know that they're here to support the grid of Christ consciousness for the entire planet and also for us individually.
Wow. So for people wanting to tune into that more and experience that more, is it like we need to take this step to this step to this step in terms of frequencies, or can we just be already there in terms of our own adaptation, growth, development? Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yes, it does make sense. You can be already there, absolutely. Anything that tells us we have to take certain steps to get somewhere, in my personal opinion, is a little bit founded in some of our history of organized religion where we had to earn and be worthy of something. So we were born worthy. Our original template is that of purity and innocence and worthiness, and we already have access to it. Now, yes, the physical body sometimes needs us to connect with it so that when we enter and connect with different frequencies, we're being conscientious of what the body can do. And so that's one little thing I would say. But when you were saying how to connect to it, I still am feeling the presence of the golden seraphim in my field. And they actually wanted me to share that music is one of the most rapid ways for you to just open the door to their presence. And they are ready and willing to assist any of us who would like to connect with them.
Wow. Do you believe that we all have angelic beings with us at all times, guiding us, listening? We just don't.
Yes, I believe we have many non-physical team members on councils that we're supported in ways we don't even understand. And I come across a lot of people who are not consciously aware of their quote unquote team. But I have never come across a person who doesn't have a team. And I truly believe that everyone who's incarnated on this planet at this time has a very large support team, be it angelic beings, galactic beings, spirit animals, ascended ancestors. And it's just beautiful to do the work that I do and to see how important and special every single individual is.
Because the next question for you then is, how do you fully allow yourself to completely surrender and trust into something far greater than us, helping us and guiding us forward? Because clearly you're living your path, you're living on purpose, you're helping a lot of people, and that takes courage. Like, it takes a lot of courage to step into that and relinquish control, if you like, and developing that relationship.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't require myself to execute everything perfectly. And in doing that, I've allowed myself to release shame and guilt and this unworthiness that I was talking to you about, so that I don't have to earn my experiences anymore. They just are. They're naturally and organically part of what I'm going through every day. And even when I feel like I'm dealing with family stuff, because I do not live in a world where everything goes perfectly, I still have to deal with all the human stuff that all of us have to deal with. But I feel like I have more grace and self-compassion that allows me to then release that judgment of myself first, and secondly of others, to just open the path to magic every single day, in every single moment.
Yeah. How would you inspire someone listening to this? I know it's all theoretical, but if they are struggling, they're in their judgments, they're not feeling worthy, maybe life is throwing many challenges at them, they're not maybe living their authentic self, and somewhere in their heart they know it, but are wanting to lean in, they're wanting to connect to something. Like, where's the first step? What would you recommend from your experience?
I'm going to answer this question with information that's dropping in right now specifically for this group that's listening, because I want to make sure I'm tuning into what would be most aligned for everybody here. So what's coming in for this unique group are two things. One is to connect with nature, because some of us are trying to repair our relationship with humanity, and that's a hard place to start. So if we can at least go out in nature and connect and feel that love coming back to us from Gaia, it will begin to help heal us so that we can reconnect to humanity. And secondly, probably makes sense, but that is to connect to animals, because they are also offering that same frequency when we're in a mode of healing our sort of relationship with other human beings. So nature and animals is what's coming through.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And before we wrap up the podcast, I got a couple of other questions for you, if that's all right, from the bullet. And again, I don't...
Sure.
Plasma light body infusions.
Oh, this one's fun. So, you know what? I posted a reel the other day, and all I wanted to know was what other people were experiencing, because the Arcturian in me loves to get data. The Arcturians guides that I have clipboards, and they're like observing everything going on with the humans, because they're part of this in the background, but they want to know what's going on. They want feedback. So I did ask, does anybody have any experiences with this idea? So many people are having dreams and going in meditation where they're either like drinking this luminous liquid or they're bathing in it. And this might resonate with some people listening here, but essentially what's happening is the frequency of our body is shifting, and the even foundational matter of which our body is composed is transitioning from a more dense substance to a more etheric substance. And because of that, we are transmuting what was the dense into this plasma light body. And the galactic guides, for the most part, although angelic, all the guides, all of our team that's cheering us on, they're pouring these plasmic frequencies out. Most people understand the idea of the solar flares. I think a lot of people follow that whole thing. This is part of it. This is part of it. It's higher frequencies carrying these ascension vibrations that are helping us transition into new octaves of existence.
So can we intentionally embrace that as well then?
Yes. Yes. I'm hearing all the guides like shouting, yes. And I think one of the reasons why I said the word to you is because what I found is even planting a seed of a concept in somebody's mind, what will happen is that people who are listening to this will notice it will come up as a synchronicity over the next few days. And once you have that concept, then you can say what you just did, which is, hey, bring it on. Like, I'm open to this. And they have that consent because they honor our free will. They have that consent.
That's a big one, right? So ultimately, at the end of the
Yes.
day, if I honor the free will and intentionally start to explore that, then synchronistically and things, it'll start opening up essentially.
And so it is.
Yeah.
It will happen.
So it is. Stay curious. Stay curious. Is there anything I haven't asked you on this show today that you're very passionate about, you love talking about, but I haven't gone there yet because of the topics that you do cover before we wrap this podcast up?
Oh, that's a tricky one too, because that's like opening a whole can of worms. I'm immediately getting a visual right now, so I'm just going to share one last thing just to drop it into everybody's awareness. Like I said, like the seraphim energy or the plasma, whatever is speaking to you right now. What's coming forward is the aurora ray dragon energy, or these rainbow dragons. And I feel connected to them, the crystalline children. Some of these crystalline children are non-physical, and some of them are being born onto the planet right now. And these rainbow dragons and these crystalline children are bringing very special frequencies onto the planet that we need right now. And we're just being invited to open our awareness to them so that they can support us.
And out of my ignorance, I do not know what a crystalline child is, children. Can you just explain that briefly?
Sure. For me, they're very special beings that are existing on, other planes, other dimensions that have a contract with our planet, and many of them have lived multiple lifetimes as wisdom keepers and very old souls, you might say. And they're incarnating on Earth, carrying a very exquisite frequency that is extremely unique. And this is the wave of children that are being born in the physical as well, but there's a whole other group of them that are non-physical. And they essentially, again, have a contract to support us. They carry the frequency of the eternal child, which is so beautiful and I believe missing in the ascension journey of many people right now. So I feel like our guide said, everybody's taking things too seriously. How do we make this fun again? And so these children bring obviously high frequencies, but this sense of playfulness that is extremely just powerful.
I love it. It's literally where we began the podcast as well, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
It is. I have a few of those little guys in my family.
No, totally. JJ, thank you so much. Where can people find out more about you and your work? And I'll make sure the links are in the show notes below, but please,
Sure.
What's your website?
Sure. So activationswithjj.com. And then I have an Instagram that's also activationswithjj, no underscores or anything, just all those letters in a row. And I would be honored to connect with anybody who's listening. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So beautiful to connect today. And I look forward to sharing this with everyone. JJ, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Such a pleasure. Thank you, Guy.